Vietnam is such a magical place. You're always thrown into new adventures every day, and it makes it kind of hard to remember them all. So there I was, walking through the party district in Vietnam. I loved Boi Vin, and I'd always go there to hang out, meet new people, and of course, party all night long. Well, this one day I was sitting in a bar when this guy walks up and starts chatting with me. He was from India. This shorter guy, maybe around 5'6", 5'7", and he had a nice face for being Indian. We chatted for a bit. Apparently, he was an English teacher who traveled across Asian countries, and I told him that I was a YouTuber. My channel really impressed him, which at first I thought was kind of cool. This is when this guy gets up and says, "Alright, let's go get us some girls." Now, I had a girlfriend at this point, and it was my first real relationship. I wasn't going to be messing around with other girls, and I told this guy that. This dude gets all up in my face and says, "Man, you're partying. She's not here with you, is she? How's she ever going to know?" I looked at him and said, "Look, dude, we can find you a girl, but I'm not looking for chicks." This guy looks back at me and says, "Come on, man, bros before hoes." And that's when I got back up in his face and said, "Oh yeah? Bros before hoes? What have you and I ever been through together that makes you my bro?" He started to change his demeanor a bit and said, "Well, wait a minute, man." I shot back and said, "No, you're trying to get me to cheat on my girlfriend, and I want to know what the hell makes you so important to me that I'd actually do that." "Whatever, man," he replied, and we started walking around the streets looking for women for this guy to pick up. This was hysterical, to be honest. This guy didn't give a damn. This girl could have looked like a moose and he'd have been rubbing up against her, trying to get her back to his place. He was even telling girls that his buddy is a famous YouTuber, and then he'd point at me. Yeah, my buddy over there, he's famous. Doesn't that just turn you on and make you want to have sex with me? I mean, he didn't say that, but he may as well have been saying that. It was hysterical to watch because nobody was really interested in this guy. I pretty much watched him get yelled at all night by girls, and even some of them yelling at me saying, "Why would you be friends with a guy like this?" Now, on the topic of cheating, there were many girls who would walk up to me at those bars. They'd start flirting and try to get me back to their place, and I had to turn them all down. I guess my only advice here is getting in a relationship is a mistake. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Alright, back to the stories. So I said before that I had a girlfriend when I was out there. She was really sweet, and I guess these stories today are all going to involve her. So if you guys remember, I'd been in a really bad place when I'd first gotten to Vietnam. I'd gone through some pretty serious depression, I had some sort of post-traumatic stress, which I'd talked about before. The point here is I was not myself, and things didn't really mean much to me. So there we were, my girlfriend and I are headed down the highway late at night. Now, the highways are extremely dangerous in Vietnam, especially in the evening. That's when these big trucks are on the road, and if you get hit by one of those, you wouldn't survive, and in Vietnam, that's your fault. They don't do the whole accidents, let's share insurance thing. If you cut in front of one of those and it kills you, well, I guess you shouldn't have died then. But either way, we're traveling down the highway, and I hear my girlfriend scream at the top of her lungs. Now, I was in a pretty low place in my head at this point, and I was thinking, what? When I looked forward and see a rat is running across the handlebars of her bike. I don't know how this rat even got on the bike in the first place, but it scared the hell out of her, and she wobbled down the road until she came to a stop. I pulled out my phone and flicked the rat off the bike, and we continued on. Weirdly, I felt a lot better after that happened. I mean, this rat shocked my girlfriend. She could have swerved into oncoming traffic or into a big truck. She could have wobbled so much we fell over at high speeds. There were a lot of ways to die in that situation, and it made me realize that things could have been a lot worse, which was cool. So a few weeks go by, and Alia, my girlfriend, decided that I needed a vacation. A nice, relaxing trip to Dalat would probably make me feel a lot better. Now, Dalat's kind of a strange place. It's a giant love garden, and it's such a beautiful city. The temperature is also very similar to Oregon, which, in a way, reminded me of home. But this place has many curses. One, for example, claims that if you take your significant other to Dalat, you will break up by the end of your trip. If you're married, you will get divorced after your trip to Dalat. That's just one example, but Dalat has many of these bad luck curses. Either way, I'm a rational American, I don't believe in such curses, and we pack up and we go. Now, the bus ride from Ho Chi Minh City to Dalat takes about 6 to 8 hours. When we first got there, our bus forgot to unload our luggage, so we're dropped off in Dalat City, then we had to take another bus back to the station to get our luggage, and then take another ride back into the damn city. This should have been a clue for me that maybe we were in for a treat. Okay, so it's about the third day in Dalat, and Ailey and I decide to ride out into the country. There's so many beautiful fields and orchards in Dalat. This is a giant farmland next to a jungle, and I just love it. Either way, we rented a bike from our hotel, which they assured us was in perfect working condition. We get way out into the country and stopped off for some drinks. When we tried to start our bike, nothing happened. We tried starting the bike for about 10 minutes out in the middle of nowhere when I said, well, goddamn, this couldn't get any worse, could it? So then it started raining. And if you know anything about rain in Vietnam, it's not this cute little sprinkles here and there. It's a bunch of buckets of water all at once. We walked for 2 hours as I pushed the bike into this little ass town and found a mechanic. The mechanic told Alia that all we needed was a new battery and that it wouldn't take too long. We sat there for 4 hours. The sun even came out while we were in this guy's shop. I asked Alia, why is it taking so long? And it turned out that this shop never sees white people. It was drawing a lot of business for this man to have a white guy in his shop. So he was getting other business and he was working on their projects first to keep me there as long as possible. God damn it. After 4 hours, he replaced the battery and we rode off. About 2 hours later, it's freaking cold and we parked somewhere on the side of the road so that I could go pee. When we got back to the bike to start it up, it wouldn't turn on again. So now it's raining, it's freezing, and the bike isn't operating again. We walked down the street and found a nice cozy tea shop and waited there. After some time, we told a couple about our bike problem, and they asked, well, did you put the kickstand up before you started the bike? Excuse me? Apparently, some bikes won't start unless the kickstand is up, and this happened to be the only issue that we were actually having. The battery had been fine. We just didn't realize that this was how this particular bike worked. There we had been wasting a whole day walking our perfectly rideable bike in the rain. I felt like an idiot. This wasn't the only bike trouble we encountered. There was this one day when Alia and I were riding through Saigon. We stopped off for some smoothies or milk tea or something when Alia turns around and tells me that she accidentally locked her keys in the seat of her bike and that she couldn't get the seat open unless she had her keys. Now, I'd heard of locking your keys in your car, but this was something else. So she pushes her bike to a mechanic and starts using his tools to open up her bike. This was kind of shocking to me. The mechanic walked up to her and asked if she needed any help, and she replied in Vietnamese, "No, I'm not going to waste my money paying you to open my bike. I'm going to use your tools for a minute, and then I'll be on my way." I had no idea that you could just walk into a shop and use whatever you wanted. That was a culture shock moment, and I loved that that was a thing. Long story short, she couldn't get her bike open. So we're on the side of the road, and this group of people are walking by. I guess they noticed our faces and they asked Alia what was wrong, and Alia told them what had happened. That's when this large Asian man walks over to the bike, rips the seat open with his bare hands, and pulls the keys out for Alia. This threw me off a bit. On the one hand, she's got her keys back. On the other hand, I now realize that locking the seat practically does absolutely nothing. If someone wants to get inside your bike, they're getting inside your bike. This last story happened in a city called Nha Trang. Alia introduced me to her friends, and I really liked them. I actually messed around with them a bit as they were non-native speakers. They were joking around with each other this one day about penises, and I told them that penis is not the right word. I said, we do use the word penis, but if you want to use the correct English word, you gotta say pee-pee. For the whole time I knew them, they all referred to a penis as a pee-pee in serious conversation, and it cracked me up every time. Either way, we're hanging out of the river one day in Nha Trang. There were these little fish that would come up and suck on your toes. We're just jumping off rocks into the water. I had no idea that my Vietnamese friends didn't actually know how to swim. I guess it's not a very common sport out there, and all of them were a little intimidated by the water. Well, one of Alia's friends got a little too deep and started panicking and drowning, so her other friend jumps in to save her, and he starts struggling too. Good damn thing I had some lifeguard training because I had to jump in and save both of them, which I didn't expect to be doing. I figured everyone there knew how to swim. Needless to say, we didn't stay near water for the rest of that trip. And those are some more of my Vietnamese stories. I gotta say, it's kind of weird being back in America and sharing these tales. Every time I meet someone and tell them that I lived in Vietnam for a while, they always go to extend their hand and thank me for my service. Jesus Christ, thanks for my service. Have you seen this hair? Never served in the military. Bye, guys.